reason must be reasonable, otherwise it might reason itself out of existence. But what exactly reason, and why reasoning works often against faith, against something that it's hard to reason with, but something that matters nevertheless, because often seems unreasonable things matter the most. And if we start reasoning about certain things, we actually reject them on the basis of our reasoning. It's like if you're in love with somebody, you better not to try to reason why you're in love with someone, because once you begin reasoning about your feeling toward this someone or why you with this woman or with this man, you actually can reason your way out of this relationship completely. That's what I think the biggest problem of reasoning. Reasoning is like a hammer. You can carve beautiful monuments out of the rock with this hammer. But if you take feelings, if you take emotions, if you take morality, if you take faith, especially faith and morality, they're like a thin piece of glass, incredibly fragile. Like you can take faith as a very thin piece of glass with the words written. And these words, the words of morality. You cannot take a hammer toward this thin piece of glass because you will destroy everything. You will reason your way toward this piece and destroy it. Certain things you just should trust. Faith doesn't require reasoning. Faith requires that there's something bigger than you are with all your reasoning all together. And I think it's very important to understand. The problem with reasoning, how you can reason with the beauty, how you can justify this feeling of beauty, this internal feeling of beauty, how you can able to justify it. Because if you start reasoning about beauty, you can assume, for example, a beautiful woman is just the signal for procreation, because if she's beautiful, your offspring will be beautiful. It means like if you have a beautiful daughter, she will have much more success in life because handsome people usually do. And what you do, you reason your way out of this beauty, and suddenly the beauty turned for you just into a biological idea that have no transcendence within itself. And suddenly you realize there's everything, you can explain everything through the position of biology. And whatever you cannot explain, you just can reject. And that's how we're losing this idea of beauty. Because the idea of beauty itself requires faith, requires something that transcends you, that makes you bigger than you are. But it's not through reasoning, it's just through faith. You believe that this thing is beautiful just because it is beautiful. You don't have to look for explanations. Why greatest artist touches your heart? When you read their books, or when you look at their paintings, or when you observe their statues, why it touch you? You don't ask this question, because once you do, the magic is gone. It's like a magic trick. If you don't know how magic trick perform, it create much more effect upon you than, for example, when you know all details, all these things behind this magic tricks. Maybe that's why I hate this when people try to study art, because they try to. You don't have to study art. You just have to expose yourself to art and learn to enjoy it. Learn to practice by enjoying the art, not to try to understand, because nobody understands why certain things make us feel different than other things. It's easy to, for example, it's easy to analyze already written work of art, like it's easy to analyze a book that has been already written than to write this great book basic on the training you receive, because usually the greatest writers, they never had training. They wrote because that's what they were born to do. They didn't study at schools or colleges for several years. They just wrote the books because that's what they were born to do. And they love literature, they love paintings, they love sculptures, they love all this that give us the essence of beauty, the sense of beauty. And People with too much reasoning try to mutilate the sense of beauty, because in some sense, too much reasoning makes you skeptical, makes you cynical. You see everything through the other perspective. You can look at sunset and you don't have to feel a thing. And the funny thing, even about sunset or a sunrise, you don't feel sunset itself. You feel your position inside of this ability to see the sunset with your history behind you, because you link the feeling of sunset with your past, and something in you clicks, and suddenly the sunset that you observe right now become a part of your past, a part of your life that influence your idea of the future. It's so beautiful to understand things without reasoning about them too much, but still I'm not claiming that reasoning is a bad thing. You have to be just careful, because in some sense reasoning helps you to create a wall around your Garden of Eden. But inside this wall you have faith, you have love, you have trust, you have all this perception of beauty, all these feelings that worth having, all these feelings that makes you transcend, makes you realize that you're more than your own biology. But once you let reasoning inside your Garden of Eden, it will destroy everything. It's like a hammer through the glass figures. When you have a bunch of glass figures beautifully standing, and then you let the hammer to use them as nails, because as the saying goes, for everyone who has a hammer, everything is potential nail. Then you have to be very careful. You create reasoning to protect yourself, to protect your Garden of Eden from the outside insanity. But inside of this Garden of Eden, you don't ask a question why you're in love with this woman. You don't ask these questions. You don't ask this question why you find her beauty is aesthetic, why she's so gorgeous. You just enjoy by being with her without asking too many questions, because too many questions often lead to the answer you're not ready to face. And that's why you just, the same like when you get affected by a book, and it doesn't matter if people don't like this book, for example, but you like it. And in some sense, it's a good thing when people hide the work of art from other people, because they don't want to be judged for their taste. But if something makes you feel different, maybe that's the point. Maybe that's why we're so secretive about what we truly love, what we truly like, because there's no reasonable explanation behind that. There's no reasonable explanation why you like this particular song or this particular movie or this particular book. You just love it. And if people around you don't understand your love with this subject, you try to hide them far away from people's judgment, because you cannot reason your way out. You don't want to reason your way out, because once you start reasoning your way out, you might lose this link, this connection to this work of art. That's what art must be, incredibly intimate. And maybe art teaches us intimacy. Maybe art helps us to practice intimacy, helps us to practice our love. Maybe that's why we have art for. Because when you look at the piece of art, real piece of art, you in some sense discovering religion within yourself, and you in some sense practicing this faith in something big, in something that's not you. It's something that feels so right and feels so big, like the universe itself. And maybe that's why we need to be careful not to lose beauty, to be able to appreciate beauty, and not to reason our way out of everything, and to eager to judge every single thing, because it's easy to be cynical, it's easy to be nihilist, it's easy to criticize the world and everything around yourself, because in some sense you creating this wall where you feel as little as possible. But to feel a lot, you need to be courageous, you need to be strong, because when you feel the world, when you feel the entire world, you feel everything outside of your existence, and you try to digest this with your subjective experience, try to make some sense. It can be a little bit devastating, but sometimes you learn new things by accident. Sometimes you discover new form of art by accident. That's what makes you happy, truly happy. It's good to be within reason, to see the life within reason. But when you have too much reasoning, you can reason yourself out of everything beautiful, everything worth living on this planet. But the most scary thing, you can reason yourself out of love, and also you can reason yourself out of beauty. And if you cannot see beauty just through your feeling, trust your feeling while you observe the beauty. If you need the words, or if you need some reason and explanation why you feel the way you feel, then all great paintings will be just spots of paints on a canvas, and all great books is just reasonably built words into paragraphs and chapters, and all the greatest music will be just notes on a piece of paper.